string, swim, they'll say the same thing frequently. And that's another indication that they might have to mention. Abstraction, this one's my favorite one. I love abstraction. Because you give them 2 words and you ask how are they alike, and you get some of the most off-the-wall answers. You get like, how is a diamond and a ruby alike? I don't have them. Like me neither. But what you're doing is you're trying to see, okay, can you put these 2 things together? Can you think critically? Okay? And the last thing is delayed recall. Okay? Again, long-term memory. Let's see if you can remember. And if they can't remember it right then, if they can't remember, okay, truck, banana, violin, you're going to say, okay, the first one is like something you ride in, or vehicle, or something like that. And seeing if you can get that out of them. Because again, what you're wanting to ask your neurologist, neuropsychologist, or psychiatrist is, what do you notice, and what did they do well at, and what didn't they do well at? Okay? So it's not just about the score. That's really what I wanted to focus on.
Linda? Oh, go ahead, Linda.
I just questioned about the letter S. Specifically, is that a specific reasoning for the letter S?
The letter S.
Using the letter
Swim.
S.
Oh, no, that's not the specific reason. Different versions have different letters. It's just seeing if somebody can remember what they provided and able to recall from their banks of, or it's something called semantic memory. And so you're trying to get them to pull out of semantic memory or their word bank, different things. So if they have problems with that, then it would be a different part of the brain that's affected.
What a nice tone. I like
They do. Makes me like really relaxed.
I know. It's a relaxing tone.
Okay. Thank you. Now, Linda, do you want Matthew to talk a little bit about the scans? You had mentioned that in your original
Yes, please.
email. What time is your meeting over? It's already 10 to 12.
12. We're fine. If people have to go, they usually slip out.
Do you
Okay.
want to talk about in terms of scans?
Okay, so with, not only do you have these types of tests, which you'll see a therapist or a social worker or or a nurse do, you also have scans. Oh, before I forget, the biggest benefit about each, the MMSE is easier to give, which is why you see it most often. It's easier to train. Everything is on there, and it's quicker. It's the quickest. The MOCA takes the longest. It's the most detailed, but it's also the most complicated. Okay, so you see it less often. Okay. And then I said earlier that aphasia is you get the most from the slumps. So with brain scans, so there's different types. There's the PET scan, CT scan. There's the MRI and fMRI. And also you might see an EEG thrown in. So with each of them, an EEG, it measures electrical brain activity. You'll see this cap being put on the person. It's got different nodes on it, like little sensors on it. And it measures the electrical activity of your brain. Okay? Has anybody seen an EEG reading or an EKG, like heart monitor? You know, you hear the beep, beep, beep. Okay, so an EEG has 32 of those instead of the normal 8 for an EKG. And each of those is a different part of the brain. So what they're looking for is there's different patterns. Okay, so if you see this pattern, it means something different than something like that. Okay, that's what they're looking for. Does this person have a different pattern for like being highly impulsive, or does this person have a pattern for something for plaque tangles or something like that? So that's what that looks for, is electrical activities being changed from different brain area changes. PET scans, the least common you're probably going to see. I've actually never seen it being given to a patient, but I did get told by Dr. Steiner today that there is new research out that says that they're finding that PET scan is able to identify Alzheimer's before death. So Alzheimer's dementia is actually not able to be conclusively 100% diagnosed before death because you can't obviously see the tangles and the plaques before death because they're still alive.
But remember also that all of this is insurance driven, so don't jump out there and say, give me a
Oh,
PET
yeah,
scan,
yeah,
doctor.
yeah, yeah.
Insurance driven, if your insurance doesn't pay for it, you're not getting that test.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you want to pay cash.
And this is not, and like I said, this is brand new and it's not 100% yet.
That's
So
just something he said.
it's just something that they're, what the point of me saying that is, what it does is they inject something that it attaches to different parts and they can see the function of your brain, okay? PET scan and fMRI is all about functioning, seeing how something is different. You'll see something not lit up if something is wrong with it. Like for fMRI, there's going to be a lower uptake of glucose, and it'll be darker. So for Alzheimer's, in the front area of your brain, it'll be darker than someone that doesn't have it.
Of those 4 modalities that you're telling the people about today, the Aiken Regional, you've got your MRI and
MRI, EEG, and CT.
CT, and that's all.
Yeah,
But you do not have.
we
the
do not have a
PET,
PET scan.
and you don't have the other MRI, the fMRI, right?
I think the nearest fMRI is, I think GRU has one. I know they do. They have one. I don't think we do.
Okay, right, okay.
Okay.
Just clearing it for everybody in
Yeah.
case someone.
Yeah, GRU I know does. But those, and just being completely honest, these scans are extremely expensive. For example, just to do an fMRI, it costs about $1,000 per patient. That's without insurance, so they're extremely expensive. Anyways, so with an fMRI, like I said, you're looking at different changes. You're looking at different dark spots on the brain. With the PET scan, same thing. With an MRI, it's looking at the structure, looking at how your brain is actually looking as opposed to a normal brain. What you'll see is something called gray matter changes or white matter changes. For example, with somebody with ADHD, which is really what my research is in, somebody with ADHD will have a lot less brain matter in the front of their brain and in the temporal regions. Somebody with Alzheimer's dementia, frontal region, and the back regions of the brain, which have to do with memory and impulse control. Okay, so what you're looking is for reduced brain matter. You'll actually see a brain that's smaller with somebody with dementia.
So with our people here, they have Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's disease, which is, we're talking about the same deficits in the matter.
Yes,
And you've got double whammies.
yes,
You
yes,
have
yes, yes.
both of those.
What you'll see is something called the Niagara something, tegmental Niagara, I'm having a moment, region, which is
Does our
the,
medical student know?
I'm sorry? No, it's the dopamine channel, the dopamine tract. Anyways, with Parkinson's disease and Lewy body dementia, you'll see a reduction in the dopamine tract of the brain. And so an MRI will show a reduction in gray matter in that area. Okay? Because there's less dopamine in that area.
Okay. And CT scan?
Oh, CT scan. CT scan is also structural. It is probably the cheapest. It does show a lot, but it's not as good with some regions of the brain. It's good for frontal, like the outer edges of the brain. You don't usually see it for subcortical regions like the middle of the brain. Usually it's more MRI.
I've seen it done when you have comorbidities with brain tumors and where they remove that and then they're saying the dementia is caused by this. I don't know.
About 90% of the time you're going to see somebody have an MRI done, more so than anything else. Because it's detailed, it'll tell you what areas of the brain are affected. So for example, if you see something in, remember the VT area, which is the dopamine, you're going to say this person most likely has Lewy body. If it has in the front part of the brain in the back, you can say there's a chance that this person has Alzheimer's. I say that because you can't say for certain. Or you'll look for vascular changes, which is just plain vascular dementia.
Because they can have the open MRI now? No? Still have to go to Augusta for that. A lot of our patients are very, they can't go into an MRI machine, or they're claustrophobic, or they go, and they are not with us for a long time. They get very irate when they're in there. So the open MRI is the bigger machine that goes with
Yeah.
that.
A lot of the patients that we see in my area is we don't really, we do MRIs and CTs inpatient if we suspect significant quick changes that's acute, like if we suspect that someone's having like active stroke changes, or if there's something that we need to deal with right now. But most of the time what we're focusing on is stabilization, and then when they leave us, we send them to get brain scans.
Great.
Okay,
It's
yes,
just
You use the word aphasia.
aphasia,
Could you spell that?
APHASIA.
APHASIA?
Yes.
I was thumbing up.
Aphasia, okay. And it means not being able to come up with the correct word to.
You'll,
Certain types.
Yes,
I've had that
there's
all my
different
life.
types.
I know you're gonna say that, all of we
Yeah,
seniors
yeah.
have that.
I mean, well, no, you
As long as we are. Yeah, it is.
There's different types, like she said, there's types where you can understand everything that someone says, but you just can't get it out. And there's types that you can say what you can make sense, but you don't understand what people are saying. It's all about language.
Yeah.
So,
And then alliteration comes in with that too, with the aphasia. When they had a lady, she could only start with the initial consonant. Her husband's name was Dave, and she would start with and never could come up with the rest of the vowels consonant. But Dr. Steiner said it was just the same situation.
I have patients that have aphasia that's brought on by mental illness, so just because it happens does not necessarily mean it's due to dementia. People with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, you can see aphasia with that.
Oh, okay.
The big thing is, don't jump to say that it's that. A lot of the symptoms that you see in dementia can also be seen with a psychotic disorder.
Oh, yeah, we'll see that.
And some of these people have those kind of disorders before they get the dementia, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
The biggest thing with it is just make sure that you're tested early. If you've got a family member with Alzheimer's or Lewy body or anything like that, get tested early and make sure that you don't have any head trauma from then on. Make sure that you take care of yourself, monitor your blood pressure, things like that. Because right now, the best thing that we can do is obviously monitor with these changes, with the mental status exams, the brain scans, and trying to keep them oriented to where they are, who they are, and things like that. The best course is just trying to manage it before it gets to that point.
Do you often see where you have the duality of the mental illness and dementia?
Yes. I see a lot of bipolar patients. It's probably my highest one. I think that's my highest one, bipolar and dementia.
I can walk into a home and they'll say, well, Mama's been crazy her whole life. And I'll say, well, what do you mean by crazy? Give me and they'll say bipolar. And then the next thing we go, we're going into dementia.
And the more mental illness someone has comorbid with dementia, the less, or the worse their prognosis. So
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't.
the more comorbidities someone has, the worse their prognosis. So if they have bipolar disorder mixed with dementia, it's going to be less. It's going to be they're going to function less than someone that just has dementia.
A worse picture.
But a psychiatrist would be good in the mix with that because of the medications and everything. I see them going to, a lot of them with that, they go into polypharmacy on their own first, and then when they start mixing their drugs from different people, do you not see that on a regular basis too? You started out with having to come visit you guys and straighten out the meds first, and then
Actually, that's very true. That really, that's where I think, even if my clients don't end up needing to be in the hospital, I do recommend them to Dr. Steiner, geriatric psychiatrist, to just break all that down and figure out what is the minimum, first of all, to be on medication wise, and what are the best ones. And when he treats them, he tweaks one medicine at a time. That's what I see, particularly in an outpatient situation. One at a time, so you really know what's working and what's not.
It's usually a good idea if you have, especially with the more advanced dementia, that you try to both see your neurologist and a psychiatrist, especially one that specializes in geriatrics, because they can look at different aspects. It's like a second opinion almost. They see different parts of the same picture, kind of thing.
And is Medicare's happy with that?
Yeah, especially like for example, you would get, me and Dr. Steiner paid through insurance through things like aggression, things like confusion. That would be what they would look for from me. Vascular changes, things like that would be more neurologist.
And I think oftentimes that's, you just said you get it paid through progression. As a caregiver, you have to know, be specific. Say those words like, I'm seeing aggression, because that's how they code and build things. Because, that's everything is by that. So if you can, the more you can tell them and the more specific with words you can say, then they'll be like, oh, he's having aggression and he's sleeping more. Okay, we're going to use both of these things. And then maybe that gives you more opportunities to see different people.
Would you mind speaking to the blood pressure issues
Sure.
with LewyBody? Like my husband had a syncope episode last Saturday week ago. But
So,
blood pressure the next morning was sky high, top both levels.
so with any sort of dementia, your worst enemy is something called vascular changes, and that's when the blood vessels in the brain either become too pressurized, which causes damage. I mean, when you get older, your blood vessels aren't as able to it's almost like a balloon. When you blow it up, when you first get that balloon and you let it out the air, it goes back almost to where it was, right? But if you keep blowing it out and everything like that, eventually it's less likely to go back to its original shape, right? It's the same thing with someone that's getting older. If you don't monitor your blood pressure, it's going to cause changes and affect the activity of your brain. It's going to make things worse, especially in areas that already have damage. So you've got to make sure that blood pressure medicine and monitoring happens.
We're doing that, but the blood pressure medicines have been doubled, plus another one added. And now they're going back up to the even higher levels than what they were before that. And then this syncope episode, we couldn't even measure the blood pressure.
What they're probably, how long has he been on the medication?
Oh, well, he's been on a lower dose of Warsaw, for a long time. But it was doubled once or twice. And then Amlodipine was added, and he's on Dexatol.
When was the last time he was seen by a physician?
Oh, he's on hospice.
Okay.
A nurse was there yesterday, but and the physician comes to the house.
What could be happening is interactions between medications, or just something, I don't know what he eats, but something he ate, or stress.
Probably stress, because he's very frustrated.
I told her that
Very
this morning.
He's frustrated.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is keeping people calm.
Okay, Seroquel and Ativan. Okay, keep him calm.
Easier said than done, right?
Yeah, well, yesterday, right, he didn't go to sleep till 6 o'clock in the morning. So I had to stay there to keep him from climbing, well, he can't climb out of bed, but.
Nancy, I can't hear what you're saying.
No, I'm saying, I'm sorry. I said yesterday morning, he did not go to sleep until 6 in the morning. I had to be in there with him because his legs were over the bars of the bed. And then that morning, his blood pressure was over triple digits for both, high and low. I tried to calm him down the best I could, and this is after he had gone to bed with 4 Seroquel and 4 50s, I guess, and 2 grams of Wait a minute. And I don't wanna, milligrams, yeah, thank you, nurse. I'm thinking, but it's not coming out right.
Extra nurses, yeah.
So, you know, I didn't want to give him any more medicine on my own, and I didn't want to call the nurse at that time.
If he's on hospice, you should call the nurse.
Okay.
They're on call, and that's why you have them on hospice, so that you can
Sounds like,
always call,
Okay,
no matter what time.
all right,
That's why they're there.
okay.
exactly.
I did when he had the sympathy that time.
What were you saying?
Brain surgery, where it's exposed to the air, would that have any effect on him?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, the longer the brain surgery happens, the higher rate of infection, but that's with any surgery. It shouldn't have any effect.
Any other questions?
Okay, anything else? We're good? All right, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much.